Oh, yeah, old school vintage motorcycles. These old school hot rods are amazing. Nothing beats that raw power delivery, that old school sexy styling. Listen, if you're watching this, maybe you've been bitten by the nostalgia bug and you're on one of the online marketplaces and you're trying to source out your favorite new to you old school bike. Congratulations, but there's a lot of pitfalls that you could find along the way if you don't do your research and you don't know what to look for in the first place. What am I talking about? Well, let's dive into this. First, whichever motorcycle that you're looking to buy, I can promise you, is going to have its own set of unique challenges. Those challenges will probably be vetted out at this point, at least you would hope so, by forums. And some of these forums go back 15 to 20 years. There are guys that have long since passed that have amazing advice and direction to give you, but you're going to have to search those forums first. It's incredibly important to be able to source out the known, very common, and some of the more less common problems with the bike that you are looking for. These are the things that you're going to need to take into account when you go to look at the bike, and the questions to ask if these, say for example, an electrical issue, has that been addressed? If it hadn't, you're going to need to make sure that your notebook includes insert whatever part that is, because you're going to want to replace it immediately. Other things that you're going to want to consider, these old school bikes, well, the engines are incredibly robust. It's very difficult to kill these old sport bike engines from any of the manufacturers. But it's not so much the engine, or in most cases, even the transmission that you have to worry about. It's everything that that engine and transmission is attached to. So when you get out to wherever it is that you've gone to find this motorcycle and have a look, make sure you give it a solid once over. We're talking about frame, making sure that there aren't any cracks, any kind of bushings and bearings, making sure that the head bearing is solid, making sure that the wheel bearings have been serviced. These are questions that you're going to want to ask, because everything I'm going to mention at this point, well, these are things that you're going to have to do immediately once you get that bike home. So, as I stated, bearings, any kind of bushings, fluid changes. At this stage of the game, all of the components in essence are going to need to be swapped out, replaced, or at least inspected for fitment and quality. Brake lines and fuel lines can all deteriorate over time. And speaking of the fuel system, let me tell you something, a motorcycle that is absolutely beautiful to look at, it looks like a museum piece, that's the bike that'll get you the quickest. Many of the bikes that you're looking at may have been sitting for a very long time, and if they are fuel injected, well, the entire fuel system more than likely is going to have to be replaced. Ask me how I know. Fuel pumps, fuel filters, and the like are some of the first key components to start to fail with a motorcycle that has been sitting for far too long. In many cases, it's better to buy a bike that is being ridden consistently with a lot of miles on it than it is to buy a garage queen or even a museum piece. Main reason for that, the bike that's been ridden the most, or at least has been regularly ridden, chances are has had key known failures happen. And so those components have been replaced. We're talking seals like fork seals, tank seals. Anything that contains fluid has probably degraded or at least has been replaced at some point on bikes that might be visually, cosmetically, not all that attractive compared to a pristine motorcycle. And unless that pristine bike has got receipts to back up that all of its consumable parts and its parts that are known failures have been replaced, in many cases, it's better to go with the rider than it is for the museum piece. But just understand that every bike that you look at has got its own back history. And to get to know the owner and to get to know that machine are also a pretty important part of this process. Remember, you're on a motorcycle. You're not driving a car. So if something goes wrong, say decent bearing failure, or you've got other components that start to act odd or that aren't exactly up to par, brake lines, head bearings, the list goes on. If something drastic or catastrophic happens, you don't have any protection. It's your safety that you're looking after here. So guys, make sure that you're asking the questions, make sure that you're talking to the owner, make sure that you are getting at least a very strong understanding of the bike that you're looking at. But in any case, if you don't have those receipts or if there's anything in question, components that you're gonna have to budget for are the following. All of the fluids. This includes radiators, brakes, gas, clutch if it's got a hydraulic clutch. Anything that holds a fluid is gonna have to be replaced. In most cases, brake lines could also need to be replaced. Again, I'd mentioned fuel components, but guys, if you're looking at something really old school like carburetors, just go ahead and factor a complete rebuild in with the cost of your project. Tires are another place where you're going to probably have to go ahead and budget for a new set. You can see how this starts to snowball. Also, if you can, see if you can find new old stock parts for your bike. Things like stators, resistors, relays, light bulbs, light bulb stocks, all these goofy little parts. If you can find them and have them on tap, that is another bonus for you. Many of these bikes have had no production of any replacement parts for decades in some cases. And so you're gonna wanna absolutely have those intact. And here's another thing, if the bike that you're looking for, it comes with all of those parts included, consider that a bonus because you may have just saved yourself hours worth of time trying to track those parts down. That can definitely be a good thing. But with all of that being said, guys, I'm not trying to talk you out of your vintage motorcycle experience. It can be a ton of fun. I recently just got back with my Daytona, and every time I ride that bike, I'm just reminded of just how special of a machine that it really is. But there are a lot of things that you have to do to make sure that they remain special, and these are the parts of the labor of love that makes this type of thing so enjoyable. But post up your comments, let me know what you think. Are you working on a vintage bike? What kind of challenges have you run into? Anything unexpected happen? Those are the best stories. But with that, guys, I'm gonna leave you with this visual. Thanks for watching. Hope to catch you on the next one.